A recent survey found that a majority of men with a close female friend secretly hope their relationship would turn sexual. Here with more on that shocking statistic is Jake Roshek, who joins us live via satellite from the friend zone.
No one.
Hi, Michael. I'm currently here deep in the friend zone, helping my friend Shannon move into her new apartment. So I've been driving boxes across town all day and carrying awkward furniture upstairs for a pretty girl who is not attracted to me whatsoever. In fact, just today, Shannon said to me, and I quote, "I can't even picture you having sex," which I find confusing because I can picture her having sex very easily.
Oof. Yeah, well, tell us what's the hardest part about being in the friend zone.
All of it, but nights are especially difficult. Oftentimes, Shannon will have drama with one of the selfish bad boys she's attracted to, ask me to come over, and we'll sleep in the same bed so she's not lonely. She easily falls asleep, whereas I will lay awake all night actively suppressing an erection and painfully holding in gas.
Oh, man. Jake, well, how does a guy like you end up in the friend zone?
Well, in my case, I found myself in the friend zone with Shannon because when we met, I was nice and kind.
Oh.
It absolutely killed my chance at a physical relationship, but I ended up with a friendship that, honestly, Michael, I wouldn't trade for anything.
Oh, so what if Shannon had a change of heart and wanted
to start having sex? I would immediately do that.
Well, have you considered telling Shannon how you feel about her?
To be honest, Michael, I haven't given it much thought, besides the 6-page email explaining why we belong together, currently saved in my drafts folder. Sometimes when I'm drunk, I'll read it, add a few lines, and hover the cursor over the send button, but never click send because, unfortunately, Michael, I am a little baby bitch boy.
Hey, don't hate me, but will you build my IKEA stuff?
I'd love to. Michael, this is Shannon.
Oh, hey, sorry I interrupted.
You're so rude, Shannon. I can't believe you did that.
Oh my God, shut up. Jake, your friend is a jerk. But we should hang out. Get my number from Jake.
Oh my gosh, Shannon, stop telling me what to do.
Shut up. You are trouble.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, that was so much fun to be here for. I'm so pumped you guys flirted and made plans in front of me. Just always make sure you're there for her.
Nah, Jake, that's your job. From the friend zone, Jake Roshek, everybody! For Wicked Out There, I'm Michael Che!
Carl Jones, good night.
Happy Tuesday to you, fellas. What's happening? This is dating coach and book author AlanRogerCurrie, back with another video. Now, as you saw in the intro, that was a skit from NBC's Saturday Night Live. I'm a big fan of Saturday Night Live. Interesting tidbit about that skit, the friend zone skit. Do you know that of all the skits they've done on Saturday Night Live, that was one of the probably top 10 skits that got as much of a negative reaction as it did a positive reaction? Yeah, I remember when that skit premiered, the next day, that night and the next day on Twitter, both a lot of men expressed displeasure with it. A lot of men admitted that that skit hit too close to home. Yeah, there were a lot of men on social media who admitted and confessed that that friend zone skit hit too close to home. They basically was like, I've been in that situation, and I don't think it's funny. Yeah, a lot of men have been friend zoned by women. And a lot of women didn't like it for obvious reasons. Yeah, women don't like for people to poke fun at men being in their friend zone because women love for men to be in their friend zone. I've always said that. Women love to friend zone men. A lot of women would rather friend zone a man than flat out reject him. Man, a lot of women would rather friend zone a man than flat out reject him. And I'm going to talk about that. Probably I'm going to talk about that in my Patreon exclusive portion, maybe a little bit in the YouTube portion. But before I get to the friend zone versus being rejected, I wanted to talk about a few other subtopics, at least 3 or 4 subtopics, before I talk about the idea of men being friend zone. I'll start here. I saw where somebody tagged me in an Instagram post. And it was a video of a woman speaking, black woman. And the black woman was saying what I've always said. See, you've heard me say this a number of times, but I'm going to say it again. A lot of men in the manosphere, black manosphere, and on YouTube, they tend to put the vast majority of their emphasis on the differences between men and women, particularly as it relates to dating and relationships. The differences between men and women. But they don't talk about the similarities. At least I don't feel like most people talk about it to the degree that I do. A lot of people don't talk about the similarities between men and women. I always emphasize both. I emphasize the differences and I emphasize the similarities. And see, that's what, in my opinion, a lot of men can't handle. I did a couple of videos about that. What a lot of men can't handle about women is not so much their differences, where they're different than us, but what a lot of men can't handle is where women are similar to us. Case in point, the woman on the video that somebody tagged me in on Instagram, I'm going to be paraphrasing her words, but same effect of what she said. Here's what she basically said. She said, a lot of men think that women only want relationship sex. She said, but women want casual sex, indulge in casual sex just as much as men do. Who has said that more than arguably any other PUA or dating coach in the entire manosphere? I said that from day one. When I first came on the scene back in 1999, I said that. I was literally the first major dating coach to say that. Because as you know, if you pay attention to my backstory, I always bring up this incident where I had this conversation with these 3 members of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority when I was in college. They were actually the first ones to break that down to me. But yeah, this woman in this Instagram video was saying that. She said, I said that in the video, I want to say just about a month ago. As recently as roughly a month ago, I said that in a video. But yeah, man, women, they enjoy casual sex just as much as men do. And see, that's why I've never felt the need to lie to women or try to bullshit women or try to mislead them and manipulate them to get them to have casual sex with me. Because I know they just like us. Why am I going to try to bullshit a woman to have casual sex with me when I know deep down they want casual dick just as much as we want casual pussy? That don't even make no sense to me. And that's what this woman was breaking down. She yeah, again, I'm slightly paraphrasing words, but basically she said, yeah, a lot of men think women are not into casual sex to the degree that they are into. She said, that's bullshit. She said, not only are women, here was the big thing. She said, not only are women into casual sex as much as men are, she said, but just like a lot of guys will kind of pass a woman around, like if they have casual sex with a woman named Tanya, they'll tell one of their boys like, "Ooh, Tanya got some good pussy. You need to try to hit that yourself." She said women do the same thing. She said women do the same thing. She said women pass around dick, good dick, to their girlfriends. That's what, as you know, I talk about that and I'll say it again. That's what's called referral pussy. Yeah. My nickname for that, a lot of guys' nickname for that is referral pussy. Yeah, referral pussy is when you fuck, say, Michelle, and you fuck her real good, and she tells her friend Linda, she said, "Oh, girl, Jonathan Johnson, he got some good dick. He fucked me real good. You might want to try to get some of that dick. And then Linda says, oh, really? Okay, yeah, I'll get some of that dick. You can always tell. Here's how you can tell. I know how I can always tell, and I think most top-notch womanizers can tell. Here's when you can tell you getting some referral pussy. Is when the friend of a woman you recently fucked comes to you and says, hey, Alan, how you doing? And you kind of thinking in your mind like, why is she so enthusiastic? She's like, have you seen I don't think you've seen my new apartment. You need to come by my new apartment. You need to come by, take a visit my new apartment. Or another thing she might say is, hey, Alan, I heard about you. I heard about you. I told y'all I'll tell you one story in this category. There was one group of women from Gary, Indiana. Let's say it was this social circle of about 6 women. They were all good friends with each other. I fucked one woman from their social circle, and then she ran her mouth. Then next thing I know, I had woman number 2 from that social circle trying to throw pussy at me. Woman number 3 from that social circle trying to throw pussy at me. Woman number 4 trying to throw pussy at me. I ended up having phone sex with woman number 5. But we didn't fuck. Yeah, women will pass on good dick to their girlfriends just like men pass on good pussy to their... Mainly if they look at that guy as just fuck buddy material. Now, if a woman looks at you as boyfriend or husband material, she ain't trying to share your dick with her girlfriends. I can tell you that right now. If a woman looks at you as boyfriend or a husband material, that's when women are not going to try to be willing to share your sexual companionship with their girlfriend. But if a woman just looks at you as fuck buddy material or maybe friends with benefits material, and you put it down in the bedroom, you lay the pipe real good, oh, women will pass, and that's what this woman on Instagram was saying. She was like, yeah, she said women will pass around good dick to their girlfriends. And what I was tripping off of was not so much her commentary, because I already knew pretty much everything she said. I already knew. What was tripping me out was how surprised people were in the comment section, mainly the men. A lot of men in the comment section were surprised, like, wow, I didn't know this, and wow, I didn't know women operated like this. See, again, that's to my point, man. A lot of guys, they put too much emphasis on the differences between men and women's sexual behavior instead of the similarities, man, which allows me to segue into my next related topic. I had a guy right in the comment section, a comment I made about myself in a recent video about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. He said, Alan, you are about the only dating coach whose advice for casual sex is significantly different than your advice for long-term relationships and marriage. He said most of the other PUAs and dating coaches, their advice for casual sex is almost very, very similar to their advice for long-term relationships. Didn't I say that? I said that like in a video about 2-3 weeks ago. I did a whole video on that when I was talking about the woman named Victoria, aka my non-leather life. I mentioned that. I did a whole video called Casual Sex Advice Should Never Be Exactly the Same as Advice for a Long-Term Relationship. And the reason why is because women have different criteria for different types of companions. I've done multiple videos. I've done at least a half a dozen videos talking about that. Women have different criteria, just like men. Let's start with us, men. Let me ask you as a man, do you have the same criteria for a casual fuck buddy that you do for a long-term girlfriend? Do you? Do you have the same exact criteria? Let's divide it into 3 areas. Let's divide women into platonic friend material, casual fuck buddy material, and long-term girlfriend / wife material. For those 3 types of women, do you have the same criteria? I would say 99% chance, no, you do not. I know I don't. Number 1, let's start with platonic. I'll speak for myself. Platonic friends. I don't have too many of those, but I have a few. Platonic female friends. Platonic female friends, I don't give a damn about their looks or their sex appeal. Could care less, because I'm not trying to fuck them. Now, for women who are platonic friends of mine, I don't really put much emphasis on their looks or their feminine sex appeal. I don't put much emphasis on their looks or their feminine sex appeal. Casual fuck buddy. I don't really care about how good they are with children. I don't really care about a lot of stuff to do with their high school or college background, their level of career success, their level of education. I don't care about that shit when it comes to casual fuck buddy. Well, I take that back. I actually most of the time do care about a woman's level of education. Most of the women I've had sex with, particularly casual sex with, have been college educated women. So I'll retract that statement that I don't care about their level of education. But as you know, as most people know about me, one big difference between how I treat casual sex fuck buddies versus women I look at as girlfriend or wife material, I don't take casual fuck buddies out on dates at all. Never have. I mean, like, I'm talking about like not even one time. I've never taken a woman out on a date if I looked at her as just strictly fuck buddy material. Never, ever. Never taken a woman out on a lunch date, dinner date, movie date, none of that shit. Whereas long-term, another thing, I have no interest on developing any type of emotional attachment with a fuck buddy, and I have no desire to spend time with her both sexually and non-sexually. I've talked about that multiple times. Whereas when I meet a woman, if I think she has the potential to be my next long-term girlfriend or my future wife, I'm going to have more enthusiasm towards spending time with her both sexually and non-sexually, and I'm going to allow myself to be open enough to develop an emotional bond, an emotional connection and attachment to that woman. So yeah, and I would say I speak for the vast majority of men. Most men have different criteria for the women that they look at as platonic friends, fuck buddies, or girlfriend / wife material. Same with women, man. Women have even more categories. I've talked about on at least 2 or 3 videos. Here are the general 5 or 6 categories that women have for men. Is men that they just want to be platonic friends with, men that they will have casual sex with for free, men that they will have casual sex with in exchange for money or material possessions, men that they will engage in a long-term relationship with them without that man being particularly financially generous, and men that they will only engage in a long-term relationship with if that guy's financially generous. And then I would say the 6th category is men that they don't want shit to do with. They don't even want to be platonic friends with them. But for all 5 of those categories, man, women have different criteria. I wrote an article on O'Shea Duke Jackson's site, the Negro Manosphere, about that back in 2017, 2018. Women have different criteria for those different guys. Yeah. Like platonic friends, similar to how I said I operate with platonic friends, women are the same way. When a woman looks at you as platonic friend material, she don't care about your looks or your masculine sex appeal, because she ain't gonna fuck you. She ain't gonna give you no pussy. So she don't care about that shit. The main thing women care about when they're looking at you as a platonic friend is, are you flattering, entertaining / funny, emotionally empathetic, and financially generous? That's the 4 main things women care about if they're looking at you as platonic friend material. Are you flattering? Are you funny / entertaining? Are you emotionally empathetic, easy to get along with? And are you financially and materialistically generous? Casual sex guys that they want to have casual sex for free. The main thing they're going to emphasize is your looks and your masculine sex appeal. Your looks, your masculine sex appeal, and your mouthpiece. The 3 things I always talk about. That's the 3 things that women care about when they're going to have casual sex with you for free. Is your looks, your masculine sex appeal, and your mouthpiece. When women going to have casual sex with you in exchange for money and material possessions, they just care about how financially and materialistically generous you are. They don't even care about your looks or masculine sex appeal. They just care about how financially and materialistically generous you are, and that you're not some kind of potential stalker or weird creep type guy. That's the only thing they care about if they're going to have casual. Basically, if they're going to deal with you as a trick. If they're going to deal with you as a trick. Long-term relationship without you being financially generous. They care about your looks, your masculine sex appeal. Are you going to make at least an effort to be faithfully monogamous to them? Are you going to be good with children? Are you reasonably intelligent and articulate? Do you have a decent amount of conversation skills? And finally, for the guy, they're going to basically get into more or less like a sugar daddy, sugar baby relationship. Again, it's all about just, are you financially and materialistically generous? Women have different criteria for the different categories. No woman has the exact same criteria for a platonic friend that she has for a boyfriend, that she has for a husband, that she has for a fuck buddy, that she has for a sugar daddy. No woman on earth. You understand that? I think 90% of you guys understand that already, so I'm preaching to the choir. But there's probably roughly 10% of guys who I don't think understand that, man. Women don't have the same criteria for every man they deal with. They don't. And again, I would say the same thing about men. Men don't have the same criteria for every woman they deal with. I know for damn sure I don't. I know for damn sure I don't. So, that's the second thing I wanted to mention. Third thing I want to talk about. And this going to almost seem like a silly question, a dumb question. But I just got to throw it out there, man. Do some of you guys, and this even includes a percentage of my Patreon subscribers. This even includes a percentage of my Patreon subscribers. Do some of you guys honestly believe that there is some kind of magical technique or magical secret that will guarantee you, keyword, guarantee you, that you will be able to get every woman you meet into bed, or if not 100%, even 85 to 90% of the women you meet into your bed? Do you really believe that? Now, again, for most people, it's probably a dumb question. But based on some of the things that guys say to me, again, the guys I have the most love for is, of course, my Patreon subscribers. But there's even a small percentage of my Patreon subscribers, man, who be asking me questions like, I'll give you an example, a recent example. I had a guy, he wrote me, he said, "Hey, Alan, man, like, I was at this party and I was more one with this chick, and like, she didn't really like, she wasn't receptive. What did I do wrong?" And I was like, "What do you mean, what did you do wrong?" He said, like, what did I do wrong? Because she didn't end up sleeping with me. And I said, just because a woman didn't sleep with you doesn't mean you did something wrong. See, that's what indirect guys, and I'm going to get to that in a second. See, that's what conventional PUAs and dating coaches who promote indirect verbal game will try to make you believe. They'll try to make you believe that anytime you fail to get laid with a woman, that it's because you as the man did something wrong or failed to do something right. They'll try to give you the impression that you did something wrong or you failed to do something. Man, sometimes a woman just ain't interested in your ass. And that really should be common sense. But it's not among certain guys I talk to. Some women, you just ain't their type, man. You delusional. Yeah, I said it. You fucking delusional if you think every woman you meet is going to give you some pussy. Even the women who are flirtatious with you, friendly with you, smile and laugh at all your jokes. If you think all those women are going to give you some pussy, you need to go to a mental hospital ASAP. Because you're a delusional motherfucker. Yeah, you're delusional. See, my Rambo side coming out on this. You're delusional. That's one thing I can say for myself. I ain't never been delusional like that. Ever. There is no guaranteed way to get women in bed. Anybody want to challenge me on that? I'll bet you $100,000. I'll put my money where my mouth is. Ain't no guaranteed way. If there was a guaranteed way to get every woman you meet in bed, or even 90% of women you meet in bed, the person who came up with that technique would right now be a billionaire. They would be a fucking billionaire. I've said that on multiple videos. If there was a guaranteed way, magical secret way to get every woman, 100% of women you meet in bed, or even 85 to 90% of women you meet in bed, whoever came up with the technique, that magical technique, they would right now be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if not a billionaire. Anybody, I always tell guys, the number one way you can tell if a pickup artist or a dating coach is nothing but a grifter, a snake oil salesman, scam artist, is if he tries to give you the impression that if you follow all of his advice, you're guaranteed to fuck 10 out of every 10 women you meet, 9 out of every 10 women you meet, 8 out of every 10 women you meet, so on. If he guarantees you that, he's a grifter. He's a liar and a grifter and a snake oil salesman. That's some bullshit, man. I'll break it down one more time. I broke it down before. Here's how most conventional PUAs and dating coaches who promote indirect verbal game operate. Here's generally speaking, this is how they operate. Number one, they offer you some advice that they believe is guaranteed to help you get laid. This is primarily and specifically designed to help you get laid. They give you some advice, okay? That's step number one. Then from there, one of two things happen. Well, technically, one of four things happens. One of four things happens. In best case scenario, you do actually get laid. And that's, of course, what they're hoping for. You actually do get laid from their advice. That's going to usually be, if I give a rough estimate, that might be like 15 to 20% of their clients. The guy actually does get laid. And then when he gets laid, he says, oh, wow, so-and-so's philosophies and methods and techniques really work. Man. And then the PUA says, oh, it worked for you? You got laid? He says, oh, hell yeah. He says, hey, man, can you give me a testimonial? So the guy gives a testimonial and says, oh, my God. So-and-so PUA, man, his methods are outstanding. Yeah, I met a woman at a nightclub on Friday night, and we had some drinks, and we got laid, and I got laid, and, you know, this guy's methods work. Then, of course, he uses that testimonial to attract more clients. That's best case scenario. Now, in worst case scenario, one of three things happens with the guy. One of three things happens with the guy. He either gets politely rejected, friend-zoned, which again, I'm going to talk about later in this video, friend-zoned, or he gets cock-teased. Those are the main three things that happen to the other guys, the other 85% of the guys. They get politely rejected, friend-zoned, or cock-teased. They end up making out with a woman, maybe tongue-kissing her, grabbing on her tits and shit, but the woman doesn't end up sucking their dick or giving them any pussy. So essentially, they end up getting cock-teased. And then they say, hey, the client says, hey, how come I didn't end up getting laid? And then this is where the PUAs are clever. This is where they're clever. They say, as I said a few minutes ago, they make you feel like you did something wrong. They make you feel like you did something wrong. In the case of you being politely rejected, they feel like something is wrong with your looks. You too fat. You too skinny. You don't carry yourself with enough swag. So those are the things they're going to sell you on a product called How to Turn No's into Yeses. How to make a woman go from saying, no, I'm not interested to yes, I am interested. And it's going to usually center around something to do with improving your looks and improving your masculine sex appeal. That's what it's usually going to center around. Improving your looks or improving your masculine sex appeal. Then, second thing that happens to a lot of guys, they get friend zoned. Typically, when you're mode 2, over 50% of the time, women are going to friend zone you rather than reject you. That's one of the things I've noticed in my experiences when you're mode 2 with women. When you're mode 2 with women, most of the time, you don't usually get rejected. You might get politely rejected, maybe 1/3 of the time. But most of the time, you get friend zoned. That's what happened to me a lot my first 3 years at Indiana University when I was in college. I got friend zoned more than I got rejected. And then what do the PUAs and dating coaches who promote indirect game do? They basically, again, they make the client feel like he did something wrong, and they sell them on a product called How to Get Out of a Woman's Friend Zone. How to get out of a woman's friend zone. Then the third thing would be a guy who was able to make out with a woman, like tongue kiss her, touch on her body and stuff, but he didn't get his dick sucked. He didn't end up engaging in intercourse. And then again, the PUA says, you did something wrong. The main thing in that area, guys, PUAs will typically tell their clients, you weren't aggressive enough. That's the main thing they will tell them in that category. They'll say, you weren't aggressive enough. You were too passive. You need to be more physically aggressive with women. Or you need to introduce drugs and or alcohol, which is nowadays date rape. That's what they'll usually tell a guy if a guy's situation was he got cock teased. They'll sell a product basically telling that guy he needs to be more physically aggressive with the woman and or he needs to incorporate drugs and or alcohol into the scenario in order to close the deal. Yep. That's the general process of how the vast majority of conventional PUAs and dating coaches who promote indirect verbal game operate. They mainly hope that you either get laid or get friend zoned. Get laid or get friend zoned, and then they just try to sell you on products called something to the effect of how to get out of a woman's friend zone. And as you know, I don't operate like that. I'm totally different. Yeah, I'm different. I don't concentrate primarily, and I've said this, probably 200 times over the last 5 years, but I'll say it 201 times. See, the difference between me and 99% of the PUAs out there and dating coaches out there, helping men get laid has never, ever, ever been my primary emphasis. Never. That has never been my primary emphasis. I'm not saying I don't emphasize helping guys get laid at all, but that's never been my number one emphasis, ever. Like, I've heard a number of guys as recently as 2 or 3 months ago. Some guy said this. There's been a few guys over the last 5 years since I've been on YouTube that have said, AlanRoger, ARC, man, he's disingenuous, man. Like, I heard him on a live stream say that Mode 1 is not about getting laid. Yeah, right, man. He's so intellectually disingenuous, man. Mode 1 is all, everybody knows that Mode 1 is all about how to get laid and get some pussy. Insert dog face. only people who say that, the only guys who say that, real talk, the only guys who say that, I say it's two groups of guys who tend to make comments like that. Guys who never read my books or listened to my audiobooks, guys who never actually read my books or listened to my audiobooks, and secondly, guys who might have browsed through my ebooks, paperbacks, or half listened to my audiobooks, but they didn't really thoroughly absorb everything. Let me break it down to you, and I broke this down before a few times. I'll break it down again. Let's start. Let's just tackle my 5 audiobooks. Forget some of my ebooks and paperbacks. Let's just concentrate on audiobooks. Do you know out of my 5 audiobooks, only one of them has to do with getting laid? Literally, only one of them. Only one of my 5 audiobooks has to do with getting laid. Offers some degree of advice on helping men get laid. That's Ooh Say It Again. That's Ooh Say It Again. That's the only, of my 5 audiobooks, that's the only audiobook that I would say that primarily centers around, that a portion of the audiobook offers advice that will ideally help men get laid. And even that audiobook, to be honest, is not totally about just getting laid. The main thing Ooh Say It Again is about understanding the sexually duplicitous nature of women. That's what Ooh Say It Again is about. It's about understanding the sexually duplicitous nature of women. And then, after I explain the sexually duplicitous nature, then I proceed to give guys advice on how to use the combination of bold, straightforward honesty, verbal seduction skills, and erotic dirty talk talents to get women's pussies wet so that they can hopefully end up fucking those women or get their dick sucked. But that's the only audiobook that at least halfway centers on getting laid. None of the other 4 audiobooks of mine have nothing to do with getting laid. Start with Mode 1. A lot of people think Mode 1 is a how to get laid book. I've said it a million times, it's not. You know what Mode 1 is book? Man, and there down in a nutshell, Mode 1 is a book about self-examination. That's what Mode 1 is primarily about. Mode 1 is about self-examination, about looking yourself in the mirror and taking a careful examination of yourself. The specific questions that Mode 1 is asking every man who reads it, or in the case of an audiobook, listens to it, is asking you, why do you feel the need to be a blatant liar with women in order to try to get them in bed? Why do you feel compelled to be a blatant liar? Why do you feel compelled to be a disingenuous and misleading manipulator with women to try to get them in bed? Why do you feel the need to be a rapist or date rapist to try to get a woman in bed? Why do you feel the need to pretend like you're content with being a woman's purely platonic friend when in actuality you want to have sex with her, what I call fun clubbing? Why do you feel the need to be a cheater or an adulterer? And probably most prominently, why do you feel the need to be a punk? A verbal coward? What is it about your fears, your insecurities, your misogynistic attitudes towards women that makes you a punk? Give me your number and I'll tell you directly. Because that's what most heterosexual men are. They punks. They verbal cowards. They scared to tell women straight up that all they want to do is fuck. I am not. Now, if I had to bring up myself, I've admitted I've had my days of being a punk / verbal coward, which most notably, as I just mentioned earlier in this video, was my first 3 years of college. That's how I was. Probably no one time I was in that category myself. The punk / verbal coward category was my first 3 years of college. I didn't have the balls to straight up tell women that all I wanted to do was have casual sex with them. It wasn't until verbal seduction story number 1, as most people know, that I chronicle in Ooh Say It Again. Verbal seduction story number 1, the infamous triple date story. That was the first time I told a woman straight up that all I'm looking to do is fuck you casually. I ain't looking to be your next boyfriend. I ain't looking to be your future husband. I just want to fuck you tonight and then have nothing to do with your fucking ass afterwards. Verbal seduction story number 1. Y'all all know it? Yeah, I told that woman straight up. I said, I'm just looking to fuck you and specifically tonight. I ain't looking to fuck you next week, a month from now, none of that shit. I'm looking to fuck you tonight. And I basically told her, if you're not going to let me fuck you, then I ain't going to engage in no conversation with you. I'm not going to engage in no more conversation with you. That's when I first developed my balls and backbone with women, was starting with verbal seduction story number 1, which happened in August of 1984. But anyway, going back to evaluating my other audiobooks, yeah, Mo 1 is not a get laid book. Just because I talk about stuff to do with having sex with women doesn't mean it's a book about how to get laid. That book is a self-examination book. A lot of my more intelligent followers and subscribers and more perceptive ones, they picked up on that immediately. Like, I'll give you one, a guy I call him by name, George Bruno. A guy named George Bruno, who used to be associated with the 21 Convention. I think he's separated now, his friendship with Anthony Johnson. But, he did a video one time calling Mo 1 the best dating advice book he ever read. That was in 2018. Yep, he did a video. He called Mo 1 the best dating advice. And he said the main reason I like AlanRogerCurrie's book, Mo 1, because it provokes men to engage in a high degree of self-examination. That's what Mo 1 is about, man. Again, Mo 1 is about asking yourself, essentially, if you're a guy who's a liar with women, why do you lie to women? Why? If you're a guy who's a disingenuous and misleading manipulator, why do you do that? If you're a guy who's a cheater or an adulterer, why do you do that? And don't just give me the simple answer, well, because I want to get some pussy. No, that's too simplistic. No, it's beyond that. I'll tell you where it goes beyond that. It really comes down to, man, you're a coward, man. You're a verbal coward. You scared of losing out on opportunities for pussy. You have a scarcity mindset and you're a verbal coward. You're a punk. To put it more harshly, you're a punk. I don't care if you're 6'5" and full of muscles, you're still a punk. I know a lot of guys who are tall with muscles that are bitches with women. Verbal cowards, they punks, man. Ain't got nothing to do with how tall you are, how muscular you are. If you gotta lie and bullshit women to get them in bed, you a punk. If you gotta date rape women to get them in bed, you a punk. I don't care how good your fighting skills are. A lot of guys be like, well, I'm not a punk. I can fight. I can box. I don't give a fuck. If you a bitch with women, that don't mean shit. Your fighting skills don't mean shit if you're a punk with women. I said that at anybody who attended the 2018 21 Convention, speaking of the 21 Convention, I said that on stage to everybody in the room. And there was a lot of guys in the room who were tall, muscular, had above average fighting skills. I said, everything I'm saying now, I said at the 2018. I said, if you got a lot of women, you got to bullshit women to get in bed, you a punk. So for those people saying, oh, you saying that behind camera, I bet you wouldn't say that in guys' faces. Ask anybody at the 2018 21 Convention if I didn't say that to motherfuckers' faces. I told everybody in the audience, I said, if you a liar, manipulator, rapist, date rapist, cheater, adulterer, you a punk. You a verbal coward. Didn't nobody challenge me. Because they knew I was telling the truth. Anyway, moving on to the next book. So we thought we got Mo 1 out the way. Mo 1 is not a how to get laid book. That's a book about examining your balls. Do you have balls and backbone? Do you have the confidence and courage to, particularly when your interest is casual sex, do you have the confidence and courage to tell women straight up that all you trying to do is fuck, as opposed to pretending like you want to be their boyfriend to get some pussy. Next book, Possibility of Sex. That was that book's claim to fame. Possibility of Sex ain't got nothing to do with getting laid. Nothing. That book is about helping you using direct verbal game to expose women who are manipulative time wasters. That's the primary emphasis of that book, is using my Mode 1 approach philosophy, not for the sake of getting sex from women, but using Mode 1 to quickly expose women who are manipulative time wasters, who are basically just looking to use you, exploit you, manipulate you for your non-sexual time, attention, and companionship, and use you for your financial resources and material possessions. That's what Possibility of Sex is about. It ain't about getting laid. So that's 2 books right there. Mode 1 ain't about getting laid. Possibility of Sex ain't about getting laid. Similar to Possibility of Sex would be No Free Attention. No Free Attention is almost somewhat of a rewrite of Possibility of Sex. That book ain't about getting laid. That book is about exposing women who are not good for you. Either for casual sex, they're not good for you, or for long-term relationships, they're not good for you. That's what No Free Attention is about. It's about not investing time and money into women that are going to ultimately either never give you any pussy, or they might give you some pussy, but you'll end up in a toxic, unhealthy relationship with them. That's what No Free Attention is about. So that book ain't about getting laid. So that's 3 books. And finally, the Beta Male Revolution. Beta Male Revolution is not about getting laid at all. That's almost more of almost somewhat of a history book. The main essence of the Beta Male Revolution is talking about how the overall dating scene has changed and evolved starting with 1960 to present day. Starting with roughly 1960 to present day. Yeah, it's chronicling how the dating scene has evolved. And it mainly talks about how the delineation between alpha males and beta males first came about. Because see, before the 1960s, for the most part, there wasn't really any delineation between alpha males and beta males. And if there was a delineation, it was like this. I've always said this. It was like this. By the early to mid 1970s, the delineation between alpha males and beta males was like this. It went from being like, the gap between the two went from being like this to being like this. And on the flip side, on the woman's side, it did just the opposite. Before the 1960s, the gap between monogamy-oriented good girls and promiscuous sluts was like this. By the mid-70s, it was like this. And anyway, without getting longer, that's what the Beta Male Revolution is about. I'm taking you on, giving you basically a history of how the dating scene and sexual dynamics between men and women has evolved starting with 1960 up until present day. So bottom line, out of my 5 audiobooks, only one of them puts a lot of emphasis on advice that helps men get laid. That's Ooh Say It Again. That's Ooh Say It Again. And again, even that audiobook is not solely and specifically about getting laid. It's half of that book is about just being able to identify and understand the sexually duplicitous nature of women. In other words, most people know what sexually duplicitous, but to tell you again what that means is, when a woman's sexually duplicitous, that means she publicly always goes around acting like she's an innocent, wholesome, prudish, monogamy-oriented good girl who rarely, if ever, indulges in casual sex, but behind closed doors, she definitely indulges in casual sex. She's more of a kinky freak or even a slut behind closed doors. That's a sexually duplicitous woman. And that's what Ooh Say It Again is about. It's about understanding the sexually duplicitous nature of women. And I say the other half is about, helping men improve their mouthpiece, their verbal seduction skills, erotic dirty talk talents, etc. But only one book. So for all those guys who say, yeah, man, AlanRogerCurrie, man, I'm sorry, man, he's intellectually disingenuous. He tries to act like he's not about helping men get laid when in actuality he is. No, here's my number one goal. I've said it 2 million times. Here's at least 2 or 3 things for me as a dating coach that are more important than simply if a man gets laid. Because see, as I've said in a lot of my previous videos, a lot of guys in the manosphere and black manosphere, they're easily impressed by simply guys who've gotten a lot of pussy in their life, who've gotten laid with an above average number of women. I'm not in that category, man. And I've said that on multiple videos. I'm not impressed simply because a guy got some pussy. For example, you know what I'm about to say. If a guy got a lot of pussy by being a liar, I don't have no respect for that dude. He's a punk to me. I don't care if he got pussy. He's a punk. If he got a lot of pussy by being a disingenuous and misleading manipulator, he's a punk to me. I don't care if he got a lot of pussy. I don't care if he fucked over 100 women. He's a punk to me. In AlanRogerCurrie's mind, he's a punk. He's a verbal coward. If you got pussy by being a rapist or date rapist, you scum of the earth to me. I hope you burn in hell. I want to light the fire on your body myself. If you got some pussy by pretending to be women's platonic friend for a number of days, a number of weeks, a number of months, I ain't got no respect for that. You a punk. If you had to give women drugs and alcohol to take advantage of, man, you scum of the earth. I'm hardcore. If you didn't know that already with my opinions about different men and how they go about getting pussy, I'm hardcore like a motherfucker, man. I don't respect most of you motherfuckers who have gotten a lot of pussy. If you got it by being dishonest, disingenuous, manipulative, overly physically aggressive, using drugs and alcohol, I don't have no respect for you motherfuckers. Real talk. I don't have no respect for none of y'all. Y'all are punks to me. And again, for those of you who say, oh, Ella, he's talking to her because he's behind the camera. Again, talk to anybody who's at the 2018, my second appearance at the 21 convention. I said that on stage to every man in the room. I said that on stage to every man in the room. I'm basically saying, man, if you ain't getting pussy, particularly focusing on casual sex, if you ain't getting casual sex by straightforwardly telling women that all you want from casual sex, from them is casual sex, then you're a verbal coward. You're a punk. And let's say, hypothetically, some guy did try to challenge me and say, hey, Alan, let's get into the boxing ring and box, man. I'm going to show you I ain't no punk, man. I'll beat you up. Let's say we got into the boxing ring. Let's say you hit me in a certain part of my head that knocked me out. And I was down in the boxing ring, down on the ground, laying out. And you bragging to everybody in the room that you knocked me out. Yeah, my question is this, though. How does that increase your balls and backbone with women, knocking me out? How does that increase your balls and backbone with women by you beating my ass? Because, yeah, there's guys out there who can fight better than me, particularly now that I'm approaching 60. Although I do have some martial arts training. But there's some guys who could get the best of me in a fight. But my question is, even if they could knock me out, how is that going to help you be more of a man with women? I don't give a fuck how good your fighting skills are. I don't give a fuck how truthful you are with other men. See, there's a lot of guys who got big balls and backbone when it comes to dealing with other men. I've known a lot of guys in that category. They are very ballsy when it comes to talking shit to other men. But I'm asking you, how are you with women though? Fuck other men, how you deal with other men. I want to know how you deal with women, man. I don't care if you can beat up a whole bunch of other guys. I don't give a fuck. You can still be a bitch with women. I've known a lot of men I said all this in the 2018-21 debate. I've known a lot of men in my life who had above average fighting skills, muscular physiques, had a dominant nature when they interacted with other men, but with women, they were straight up bitches. They were straight up punks. Hey, anybody who's hung around me in real life, I'll just end this issue by saying this. Talk to anybody who's hung around me in real life. And they'll tell you. That's one reason why I got the nickname The Legend before I left college. By some of my frat brothers start calling me The Legend. If there's one area I ain't never, starting with when I start being my own one, I ain't never been a verbal coward with women. I've said some of the most boldest, straightforwardly honest, sexually explicit shit to women that any man who's ever walked this fucking earth. And anybody who's been around me in real life knows that. I got friends of mine who bring it up all the time. They be like, damn, man, I remember like about 20 years ago, you saw this woman and you just told her straight up, man, you wanted to put your dick in her mouth. Man, I ain't scared to say shit to a woman. I ain't never been scared to say shit to a woman. At minimum, I ain't never been scared to tell a woman that all I want from her is a few episodes of casual sex. I've never, ever, ever been scared to tell a woman straightforwardly that all I wanted from her was just a few episodes of casual sex. That's my number one objective with helping my clients. I want you to be as verbally bold as I am, as verbally direct as I am, as straightforwardly honest as I am. So you don't have to be a liar, a manipulator, a cheater or adulterer, a rapist or a date rapist. Have to use drugs and alcohol with women. Have to use a whole bunch of physical aggression with women. You shouldn't have to do none of that shit or use none of that shit. I ain't never had to get a woman drunk to fuck her. Because I got a badass mouthpiece. Now, in my Patreon exclusive portion, I'm going to talk about being friend zoned versus being rejected. Being friend zoned. See, a lot of guys, most guys don't like either one of those, but most guys feel like between the two, they'd rather be friend zoned than be rejected. Because they feel like if I'm friend zoned, I still got a little bit of the chance to get her panties off and get in bed. See, I'm just the opposite, as most people know from reading my books. I hate being friend zoned 5 times more than I hate being rejected. I love rejection. I hate being friend. 2 things I hate: being friend zoned and being cock teased. Being friend zoned and being cock teased. Can't stand any one of those 2 things, and I'm going to expand on that in my Patreon exclusive portion. Okay, now, Patreon subscribers, I got an honest question for you. Honest, serious question. Well, I'll say this. I'll preface by saying, I'm not addressing all of you Patreon subscribers. I don't even know if I'm addressing most of you or even half of you. It's more so a small percentage of Patreon subscribers. But here's the impression I get based on a combination of my live streams and my individual email consultations with Patreon subscribers and telephone, Zoom, and Skype consultations with Patreon subscribers. Do you believe that Mole 1 was designed to help you prevent, avoid, or minimize rejection? Honest question. Do you believe that my Mole 1 approach philosophy was designed to help you prevent, avoid, or minimize rejection? Because based on some of the questions I get, I can tell that some of you, and again, not all of you, not most of you, not half of you, but at least some of you, that's the impression I get. I give you one or two examples. I had a Patreon subscriber recently. He was telling me he was at a party and he met a woman and he said he was Mole 1 with her. And basically, she rejected him. And instead of accepting her rejection, I could tell he was like bent out of shape over it. He was like, basically like, Alan, how come Mole 1 didn't work with that woman? What did I do wrong? And I was like, well, tell me specifically what you said to the woman. And he told me specifically what he said to the woman. And his approach was Mole 1. I would say it was standard Mole 1. It wasn't Mole 1 hardcore. It wasn't Mole 1.5. It was a standard Mole 1 approach. And the woman rejected him. And he was basically had the attitude like, okay, why didn't this woman end up sleeping with me? What did I do wrong? And I said, you didn't do anything wrong. And he said, I had to. Because I said, why do you feel like you had to have done something wrong? He said, because I didn't end up sleeping with her. I said, so you think every woman you meet that chooses not to sleep with you is because you did something wrong? And he was like, I thought Mole 1 was supposed to, like almost guarantee me that I was going to be able to get women in bed real quick. And I was like, when did I say that? I said, show me the portion of my book where I say that. And I had at least 2 or 3 other interactions in the last couple months where people asked me questions basically along the lines of, Alan, why did this woman reject me? I thought I wasn't supposed to get rejected if I was Mole 1. Number one, I ain't never said that. I ain't never said that Mole 1 will help you prevent, avoid, or minimize rejection. I'll pay you money today if you can show me in my books where I said that. I have never, ever, ever said that the primary objective of Mole 1 is to help you prevent, avoid, or minimize rejection. Hashtag facts. I say in the introduction, where's my book? I need my book so I can show you. In my 2006, in the introduction of my 2006 version of Mole 1, I specifically say to avoid unsubstantiated hype, I'm going to be upfront with you in letting you know that my Mole 1 advice will not help you prevent, avoid, or minimize rejection. I say that in the introduction of my 2006 version of Mole 1. I say to avoid unsubstantiated hype, I'm going to let you know up front that the primary purpose of Mole 1 is not to help you prevent, avoid, or minimize rejection. I say, matter of fact, I go on to say, I said, once you start being Mole 1, you can expect to get rejected quicker, more straightforwardly, and in some cases more harshly than when you were Mole 2 or Mole 3 with women. I say that in the introduction. Mole 1 is not about helping you avoid rejection. That's what indirect game is for. In real simple terms, that's what indirect verbal game is for. That's why you have conventional PUAs and dating coaches who promote indirect verbal game. See, indirect verbal game is designed to hopefully help guys prevent, avoid, and minimize rejection. Direct verbal game is not designed for that. Mode 1 is not designed for that. I want you to get rejected. Yeah, you heard me right. You want me to say it again? I'm going to say it. I want you to get rejected. You damn right I do. I'm not even saying that lightheartedly. I want men to get rejected. If a woman's not interested in having sex with you, I want you to get rejected quickly and straightforwardly. I want you to get rejected quickly and straightforwardly. I'm saying that with full 100% conviction. If you're talking to a woman that's not genuinely interested in being your wife, your fiance, your girlfriend, your friends with benefits partner, or your next casual sex lover, I want her to reject you as quickly and straightforwardly as possible. Remember I used to do the challenges? I haven't done them in a while. Once the pandemic started, I stopped. But for my long time Patreon subscribers, they'll know before the pandemic started, I actually used to have roughly once every 3 or 4 months, I would have what I would call a go out and get rejected challenge. Not a go out and get laid challenge or a go out and prevent rejection challenge, but I would literally have a challenge called go out and get rejected challenge. I would challenge men to try to get rejected by as many women as possible. Now, for most indirect verbal game guys, that sounds ridiculous. They're like, what? Why would you want your male clients to go out and get rejected? So that they can better accept it and handle it? I want guys to get rejected so that they can learn to accept it better and deal with it better. See, this is what I found dealing with men over the course of my life. You want to know the number one man who had the hardest time dealing with rejection? You would think the men who had the hardest time dealing with rejection are the men who've been rejected the most. And the men who've been rejected the least are the men who deal with rejection the best. In reality, it's actually just the opposite. And I'm speaking real. It's actually just the opposite. I mentioned this on my Saturday live stream. If you watch my Saturday live stream, I said that at one portion of the live stream. Yeah, it's just the opposite. You'll find men who've been rejected a number of times. Those are the guys who can actually usually handle rejection the best. It's the guys who've only been rejected a few times that usually can't handle it. You take me, man. I would say at bare minimum between the age of roughly 16 and 56. 56 is when I met my wife. So starting with 16, which is what would have been when I was a sophomore in high school. Start with the age of 16 to the age of 56. You're talking about a 40-year span. If I had to give a rough estimate, I would say bare minimum, I've had probably about 2,000 to 2,500 women reject me, both face-to-face, over the telephone, and on online matchmaking services like Match.com or Tinder or whatever. Combination of those three, in terms of combination of face-to-face interactions, over the telephone interactions, and online matchmaking apps or dating apps, those three combined together, I would say my bare minimum, I've been probably had about 2,000 women reject me. Do I look like I'm a guy who suffers from low self-esteem or a lack of self-confidence? Do I sound like a guy who suffers from low self-esteem or a lack of self-confidence? No, I do not. Despite that I've been rejected over 1,000 times, I'm still one of the cockiest motherfuckers on planet Earth. I talked to every woman. Before I met my wife, I talked to every woman like I was the baddest motherfucker on earth. Ever since I started being my one, I've never let rejection faze me or have a negative impact on my sense of confidence or my sense of self-esteem or my verbal boldness. Never, ever. When I get rejected, I just look at it as that woman, I'm not her type. Plain and simple, I'm not her type. You want to know the only type of rejection that genuinely bothers me? Is, and I've said this a number of times before, the only time I tend to be bothered or somewhat upset when I get rejected is if I've invested time into a woman before she rejected me. I invested money into a woman before she rejected me. I invested a lot of energy and effort into a woman before she rejected me, and invested some degree of emotions into a woman before she rejected me. In other words, to put it another way, I don't like delayed rejection. That's the number one type of rejection I don't like. I don't like delayed rejection. In other words, if I get rejected by a woman, say within 15 minutes or less after I first meet her, that's when 99% of the time I can handle rejection. That might be a 1% exception. But 99% of the time I can handle rejection when I get rejected within 15 minutes or less after I met a woman. What I can't handle is when I get rejected if I've spent a number of hours with a woman, a number of days with a woman, a number of weeks with a woman, or a number of months with a woman, and then got rejected. That's what I don't like. That's when I become very bitter, frustrated, angry. You could say that's when I become Mo 4 with women. When I get rejected in a delayed manner, that's when I become Mo 4. But that's never happened to me when I've been Mo 1. I can't think of a time when I've been Mo 1 with a woman where I got rejected days later, weeks later, months later, or years later. I can't think of a time. Pretty much every time I've been Mo 1, man, I either ended up getting laid or I got rejected fairly quickly and straightforwardly. One of those two. Every time I've been Mo 1 with a woman, I've either gotten laid, or if I didn't get laid, I get rejected fairly quickly and straightforwardly. See, the problem with a lot of guys, man, related to the intro of this video, courtesy of NBC and Saturday Night Live, is that there's a lot of men, and again, this is the appeal. This is why indirect verbal game is appealing to a lot of men. I'm going to tell you, if I had to rank the number one reason why indirect verbal game is appealing to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of guys, is because over half the time it causes one or two things. If you get rejected, it causes you to be politely rejected as opposed to abruptly or harshly rejected. See, a lot of guys can handle being rejected in a real polite manner that's not really bruising to their egos or hurtful to their feelings. See, when you Mo 2 with women, for example, you'll experience a lot of polite rejections. Not 100% of the time, but I would definitely say at least 50% or more of the time you will. When you're Mo 2 with women, you're going to experience a lot of polite rejections. And similar to polite rejections, another thing you're going to experience is you're going to get friend zoned a lot. You're not really going to abruptly get rejected. You're going to get friend zoned. Again, that's what happened to me my first 3 years of college. Most of the women I dealt with, they didn't really reject me up front, like say to me up front, like, Alan, you know, you're not my type and I have no interest in being your girlfriend or your fuck buddy. It was rare that I had any woman say anything like that to me. This is what women do. This would be an example of women friend zoning you. Let's say you meet a woman, you invite her to exchange numbers. She gives you her number, you give her your number. You guys talk on the phone, half hour, 45 minutes, hour, longer. And then you say, hey, why don't you come over to my place sometime soon? And the woman says, for what? And see, because you don't have the balls and backbone to be Mo 1, and you're not straightforward, Say if you want one, you're going to tell her straight up. You're going to be like, so I can fuck you. That's what you would do if you want one. If a woman asks you, well, why do you want me to come to your place? You would be like, because I want to have sex with you. Or I want to exchange orgasms with you. Or I want to fuck you. I want to fuck the shit out of you. If you want to use X-rated language. But see, when you want to, you're going to bullshit the woman. So you're going to say something like, well, just so we can, get to know each other, maybe watch a movie. And because that sounds innocent to her, she says, oh, okay. Now, deep down, she know you want to fuck her. Unless she's just really stupid and inexperienced with men. Deep down, she knows you want to fuck her. But she also knows you ain't got the balls and backbone to straightforwardly tell her that you want to fuck her. So she says, okay, yeah, I'll come over your place. And then she comes over your place and you turn on a movie and you pour some wine for both of you to sip on. And then at some point you try to make a move on her. Try to get a kiss from her. In best case scenario, she gives in to the kiss. She lets you kiss her. But then when you start trying to take off her blouse or lift up her skirt, she says, no. Is that why you invited me over here? Because you thought I wanted to have sex with you? Huh? I've had that happen in my Mold 2 days. Is that why you invited me over here? Because you wanted to have sex? No, that's not what I came. That's not why I came over here. And let's say you back down. You say, okay. Or let's say she never let you kiss her in the first place. Then instead of rejecting you, she's going to say, in order to move to that level of physical intimacy, I'm going to need to get to know you better. Well, me and my girlfriend's going to bowling alley on Thursday. You want to join me? And because you're attracted to her and you think that's going to improve your chances, you say, sure, I'll go to bowling alley with you. So you go to bowling alley. Then after bowling alley, again, you try to get a kiss from her. And she says, no, I still don't really know you that well. My friend's going to be on a sailboat this weekend. You want to be my date for the sailboat? And you say, sure, because you think, what do you think? You think that's going to improve your chances of getting in her pants. So you spend 3 hours on the sailboat, and then after the sailboat is over and you're about to head home, for the third time, you try to make out with her, try to get a kiss. She says, no. Why don't we study in the library together, assuming you're college students? And why don't you join me at the art gallery? Me and one of my girlfriends are going to the art gallery on Wednesday. Why don't you join me there? And for the fourth time, you give in and say, yeah, okay, I'll do that. Because you think if you make all these efforts to allow her to get to know you, that you're going to end up in her pants. But in real simple terms, that bitch is playing you, man. What she's done is strategically friend-zoned your ass. She's friend-zoned you by offering you the possibility of sex. She hasn't taken sex off the table because, see, that would undermine her efforts to friend-zone you. So she got the possibility of sex still on the table. She wants you to believe that you have at minimum a 5 to 10% chance of getting in her pants. When in reality, she knows you have a 0% chance of getting in her pants. And from there, if you're really attracted to the woman and you desperately want to get in her pants, you're going to stay in her friend zone indefinitely. Because you're going to think you still have a chance. And see, a lot of indirect dating coaches and conventional PUAs, they'll make you believe that you do still have a chance. They'll make you believe. They'll sell you products called How to Get Out of a Woman's Friend Zone and Have Sex Tomorrow or some bullshit like that. No, brother. No. If that woman wanted to give you some pussy, she would have given you some pussy. She would make it fairly easy for you to get that pussy if she really, really, really wanted to give you some pussy. If a woman really, really, really wants to give you some pussy, she's going to make it fairly easy for you to get that pussy. Now, on a side note, speaking of that, I had somebody tag me in a Facebook post. And it was a post by my fellow black male dating coach, Lucario. Now, Lucario did a video. A lot of stuff Lucario says I tend to agree with, but he's said a few things before that I've disagreed with. But one thing he said on a video that I actually don't agree with, it was a 2-minute TikTok video. And Lucario said, if a woman is really attracted to you and genuinely wants to have sex with you, she will never, ever attempt to lie to you or play games with you. That's not 100% true. I have to respectfully disagree with Lucario on that. That's not 100% true. Because if that was 100% true, there would be no such thing as wholesome pretenders and erotic hypocrites. There would be no such thing as wholesome pretenders or erotic hypocrites. The only 3 archetypes you would have is reciprocators, rejectors, and manipulative time wasters. If what Lucario said was 100% true, then all you would have is reciprocators, rejectors, and manipulative time wasters. So I can't agree with that. I like Lucario. I generally respect Lucario, but I don't agree with that assertion he said. Again, he said that if a woman finds you physically attractive and she's genuinely interested in having sex with you, then she's never going to attempt to lie to you and she's never going to attempt to engage in manipulative head games with you. That's not true. That's not true. The 2 women that will attempt to lie to you or engage in manipulative head games with you, even if they're attracted to you and deep down want to have sex with you, are wholesome pretenders and erotic hypocrites. And here's the reason why. Wholesome pretenders, even if they're attracted to you and want to have sex with you, they are very, very paranoid and self-conscious about their public image and social reputation. They're very concerned about their public image and social reputation. And that's why they will attempt to lie to you and or engage in manipulative head games with you, even if they're attracted to you, because they want to protect their public image and social reputation. So with a wholesome pretender, the main thing you're going to have to do, among other things, is you're going to have to assure them that you're a private, confidential, discreet individual. I emphasize that in Ooh Say It Again. I talk about that in one of my chapters in Ooh Say It Again. Erotic hypocrites, similarly. An erotic hypocrite, deep down, an erotic hypocrite can find you physically attractive and be interested in having sex with you, but she's going to first shit test you and act like she doesn't engage in casual sex because she wants to see if you're an alpha male or beta male. As I've explained a number of times, see, women don't want to have sex, and particularly casual sex, for free with a beta male. If a woman looks at you as a beta male, she's never going to have sex with you for free, ever. She's going to always try to make you pay for the pussy. The only men that women are going to have engage in sex with, and particularly short-term non-monogamous casual sex with for free, is men that they perceive as being confident, dominant, masculine alpha males. If you're not a confident, dominant, masculine alpha male, that woman is never going to have sex with you for free. So, there you go, man. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Yeah, I didn't agree with that. What Lucario said on that TikTok video. Now, I wouldn't say that just because a woman is attracted to you. Now, related to what I said about 5 or 10 minutes ago, I will say this in respect to what Lucario said. If a woman, I won't go as far as to say if a woman is attracted to you, she won't attempt to lie to you or attempt to engage in manipulative head games with you. I won't agree with that. Because again, if that was true, you wouldn't have wholesome pretenders or erotic hypocrite. Here's what I will agree with. If a woman finds you physically attractive and feels like you have a high degree of masculine sex appeal, and she's genuinely interested in having sex with you, She is never going to make an attempt to try to friend zone you. That's what I will say. A woman is never going to try to friend zone a guy that she genuinely wants to fuck. No woman is going to try to friend zone you if she wants your dick in her pussy. You can be assured of that. If a woman genuinely wants to feel your dick in her pussy or feel your dick in her mouth, she is not going to make any attempt to friend zone you. But she might make an attempt to postpone the sex or make you either wait for sex or invest money in exchange for sex. Now, those are two things she will, even if she's attracted to you. She might try to make you wait a few days or a few weeks before she allows you to have sex with her. Something a wholesome pretender might try to do. Or if she's a erotic hypocrite, she's going to try to get you to spend money on her before she agrees to have sex with you, particularly if she thinks you're a beta male. So, yeah, man. You can't ever, my main, I guess, message is, you can't ever look at being friend zoned by a woman as a good thing. Some guys who subscribe to indirect verbal game, they sometimes look at being friend zoned as a good thing. Like they'll say, at least I wasn't rejected. Yeah, I might have got friend zoned, but at least I didn't get rejected. That ain't something you should be bragging about. I would rather get rejected any day of the week than get friend zoned by a woman. Real talk. I would rather a woman reject me in the first 5 minutes of my first conversation with her than for a woman to friend zone me. When you get friend zoned, you're going to end up wasting a lot of time, and in many cases, time and money, and you ain't going to get no pussy. You ain't going to get no pussy. Friend zone and being friend zoned is not a good thing. It's actually a miserable thing. It's going to leave you very, very bitter, frustrated, resentful, and in some cases, misogynistic towards women. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that, man. I guarantee you that. Yeah, man. You don't ever want to be friend zoned by a woman. Speaking of my archetypes, somebody recently asked me, they said, Alan, do you remember the days when women were referred to as either down to fuck, not down to fuck, or playing hard to get? Down to fuck, not down to fuck, or playing hard to get? Wouldn't you say that's loosely similar to three of your archetypes? Oh yeah, I remember those days. Now I would say that was between roughly 1998 and 2005. Just like I have 5 archetypes of women, which is reciprocators, rejectors, wholesome pretenders, erotic hypocrites, and manipulative time wasters. Back in the late 90s and early to mid 2000s, there was mainly, for most PUAs and dating coaches, there was mainly 3 categories of women. And that was down to fuck, not down to fuck, and what some men either call playing hard to get or a reluctant slut. Down to fuck was similar to what I call a reciprocator. Down to fuck was similar to what I call a reciprocator. Down to fuck was a woman that basically you could get in bed just by being good looking and having an above average degree of masculine sex appeal. In other words, you didn't have to have no verbal game, and you didn't have to spend a lot of time with a woman or spend any money on a woman. The main thing you had to be to get a woman that's down to fuck in the bed was just mainly be good looking and have an above average degree of masculine sex appeal. And PUAs would say, yeah, if you possess those 2 things, a lot of women will be down to fuck. Yeah. And again, in my terminology, that's what I would simply call a reciprocator. That's what a reciprocator is. A reciprocator is a woman that's going to give you some pussy just really based on a combination of your physical appearance and your degree of confidence and masculine sex appeal. That's a reciprocator. Is when a woman is willing to give you some pussy just based on how you look, how you carry yourself, how confident and masculine you carry yourself. That's what's going to make a reciprocator give you some pussy. Next category they used to have in the manosphere in the late 90s, early to mid 2000s was simply not down to fuck. That was similar to my archetype of the rejecter. Yeah, not down to fuck is basically a woman that within 5 to 10 minutes after you start talking to her, she just straightforwardly lets you know, hey, I'm not interested. I'm already married. I'm engaged to be married. I got a boyfriend. Or they would just simply say, I'm not interested. And yeah, back then, PUAs and other dating coaches would call that simply not down to fuck. And then the third category was they would refer to as either a woman playing hard to get or a woman being a reluctant slut. And see, this is what led, you could say, to the basis of the popularity of indirect verbal game. Because this is what guys would say. If you run across a woman that's in the reluctant slut / playing hard to get category, then you're going to have to invest more time. You're going to have to spend more time with that woman. You're going to have to spend more money on that woman. And generally, you're going to have to give her possibly drugs and or alcohol to loosen her up. Which again, in today's society is date rape. But some guys would suggest that. They would say, yeah, if you're dealing with a reluctant slut or one playing hard to get, you're going to have to give her a lot of alcohol or even some marijuana or cocaine to loosen her up. And the biggest thing they would promote, they would say, if you're dealing with a woman who's a reluctant slut or playing hard to get, you got to basically temporarily pretend like you want to be that woman's next boyfriend. You got to pretend like you're willing to be in a relationship with that woman. And then once you fuck her 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you just go ghost on her. Y'all remember I told a story about how I got into it with this Australian PUA named James Marshall? Yeah, man. At the 2013 Direct Dating Summit. No, it's a 2012 Direct Dating Summit in Las Vegas. That's what he was recommending to his clients. Everything I just said, that's what, with the exception of the drugs thing, but that's what he was recommending. He was recommending that guys spend time with women, wine and dine women, take time to get to know them, have some drinks with them, and basically pretend like you want to be that woman's next long-term boyfriend until you fuck her a few times. And I called him out on that shit. Yeah, we got into it. I called him out on that shit, man. I said, that's some bullshit. That's some straight up weak ass bullshit. I don't respect no shit like that. Nah, so anyway, yeah, but those were the three. I would say that third category is somewhat maybe loosely similar to an erotic hypocrite, maybe even also pretender, but not across the board. But yeah, those were the main three categories that guys would talk about in the late 90s and early to mid 2000s. It was women who were down to fuck, not down to fuck, or women who were reluctant sluts / willing to play hard to get. See, I don't believe in none of that shit, man. I believe, man, you tell a woman straight up you trying to fuck. And then if she resists you, you use your verbal seduction skills and erotic dirty talk talents to persuade her to give in to you. And if that don't work, you leave her the fuck alone and move on to the next woman. Plain and simple. You leave her alone and move on to the next woman. Yeah, but man, again, I'm going to wrap up by saying this, man. When I do a consultation with you, whether it's email consultation, Skype, telephone, or Zoom consultation, or interact with you during my Patreon exclusive live streams, don't ask me questions related to preventing, avoiding, or minimizing rejection. I am not a dating coach for helping men achieve that objective. I never have been and never will be. Never have been and never will be. My main objective is when I work with a guy, this is what my main objective is for you. Is not so much for you to get laid with every woman you meet, even though in an ideal world that would be nice. But my number one objective is for you to just be a more confident, verbally bold, straightforwardly honest communicator. A more confident, verbally bold, and straightforwardly honest communicator with women. My attitude is, if you accomplish that objective, to me, everything else will take care of itself. Everything else will take care of itself. That's my number one objective, man, is to help you become a more confident, straight to the point, unapologetically honest, smooth and seductive verbal communicator with women. I mean, let's put it this way. Let's say you were in a situation where you met a woman. Let's call her Tiffany. You met Tiffany and you wanted to have sex with her. And she could tell you want to have sex with her. And she said, Leon, I might just let you have sex with me, but this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to pay me $250. You have to get on your knees and beg me like you're my beta male bitch boy. Let's say she went that extreme. She said, you're going to have to pay me and you got to get on your knees and beg me like you my beta male bitch boy. And let's say you actually did it. You said, oh, please, Tiffany, please, Tiffany, please, give me some of that pussy. Please, let me fuck you. I'll pay you $300. I'll be your beta male bitch boy. Please, let me fuck you. And she says, okay, give me the $300 and get up off your knees, and I'm going to let you put your dick in my pussy for 15 minutes. But you probably going to come in 2 minutes. And you fuck her. Now, I know that's an extreme, exaggerated example. But let's say it happened. Would you feel good about yourself afterwards? Huh? Would you? Would you feel good about yourself simply because of the fact that you got laid? Real talk, real question. Would you feel good about yourself? I know I wouldn't. That would make me feel like a bitch. I don't like the idea of begging for pussy or groveling with women for pussy. If I can't get pussy by being verbally bold, verbally direct, smooth and seductive, cocky ass, unapologetically honest verbal communicator, then I don't want the fucking pussy. I really don't. I don't want the fucking pussy. You know why? Remember I did that Patreon shows video where I talked about I've had instances where even though I got rejected, I walked away from the conversation with my head held high and with a smirk on my face because I knew I had been a verbally bold, cocky, unapologetically honest, straight to the point verbal communicator. That's all I ask of myself. I don't put pressure on myself to get laid with every woman I meet. I realize realistically that there's always going to be a percentage of women that are going to reject me. But you know what I want? Even if I get rejected, here's what I want. Even if I get rejected, when I walk away from the conversation, I want that woman to tell at least one of her girlfriends, I met this guy today named AlanRogerCurrie. God damn, he got to be the most verbally bold, cockiest, straightforwardly honest man I've ever met in my fucking life. That's good enough for me.
I have to agree with you on the communication piece because I actually did take a session with AlanRogerCurrie, and he gave me a line that I did not think was going to work, and it worked. And I was like, what the
Oh my God.
Tell guys, man, he's the master. He's the master of the verbal seduction. He got that communication piece down pat.
It really worked. It just simply worked, and I just didn't think it was going to work at all.
Some guys have natural handles. Some guys have a better natural shot, but you can always improve your shot. And sex is damn sure something you can fucking learn. Look, dude, you want to learn how to talk better? I'm hiring AlanRogerCurrie to get my dirty talk game on, because it's always been something I want to get better at.
Verbal seduction, man. I'm like, clearly, this guy's the Michael Jordan of seduction. Like, come on now.